Massive stakes here, folks. If New Orleans wants a truly lethal defense in 2026, fixing this gaping hole is absolutely mandatory. We are diving right back into the critical star position within Brandon Staley's scheme. Because honestly, looking at the current setup, it remains the most glaring weakness on this entire squad right now. You could make a case for edge rusher or wideout, but this is urgent. New Orleans is starving for secondary reinforcements. Cornerback or safety, it does not matter. There is a catastrophic void at that star position just waiting to be exploited. Alontae Taylor bolted for Tennessee during free agency, leaving behind massive shoes to fill. Now they face the brutal task of replacing both his raw talent and his crucial defensive responsibilities. The front office has three battle plans: strike during the draft, scavenge the late free agency market, or pray an in-house talent steps up. Before we dive in, let us break down exactly what this demanding star position actually requires inside Staley's defensive blueprint. It requires a total defensive chameleon, a fierce secondary player who absolutely refuses to back down against the ground game. They have to rush the passer with lethal intent, lock down the slot completely, and shadow explosive tight ends all over the turf. We are talking about an absolute menace patrolling the middle of the field, a pure agent of chaos, whether deployed as a corner or unleashed as a safety. Word on the street is the brass actually prefers plugging a hard-hitting safety into that chaotic role, yet they still possess some incredibly intriguing pathways forward, both on the current depth chart and walking onto the draft stage. So how should they attack this crisis? Should they promote from within, or gamble a high draft pick on a rookie phenom? Drop a 1 in the comments for an inside promotion, or hit 2 if you want them hunting fresh blood in the draft. Now listen closely. Insider murmurs suggest that holding on to this vital starting gig will not come down to past track records. Kellen Moore recently touched on this very philosophy, and Ross Jackson echoed those exact sentiments straight across his social feeds. Remember, Taylor only logged 44 collegiate snaps inside the slot before dominating that exact job down in the bayou. The crucial takeaway here? A lengthy collegiate resume is definitely not the ultimate deciding factor for this coaching staff. An outside corner or a deep safety can totally hijack this job. It ultimately comes down to sheer aggression, brutal physicality, and absolute tactical flexibility. Raw swagger and violence will heavily outweigh total snaps played at the nickel spot or prior reps defending the interior. When hunting for the perfect weapon to fix this gaping wound, the upcoming rookie selection process screams immediate potential. With kickoff just 3 weeks away, Caleb Downs and Bud Clark stand out as two spectacular safeties primed to absolutely crush that assignment. Securing Downs means burning the number 8 overall selection, and acquiring Mansour Delane demands the exact same steep price tag. Perhaps the master plan involves grabbing Delane specifically to force Kool-Aid McKinstry or Quincy Riley into the interior trenches. Or maybe Delane himself transforms into your ultimate interior lockdown artist, seizing that coveted star mantle outright. Then you have Traden Stukes alongside Keontae Scott, two seasoned Warriors who racked up massive reps playing this exact punishing role during their collegiate campaigns. But if we are talking absolute best case scenario for this franchise, I am standing firm. Caleb Downs at pick 8. He would completely terrorize the entire NFC South. We are talking about a generational talent who would command this defense masterfully and set the entire league on fire. He is the ultimate weapon for Staley's playbook. Frankly, Downs might just be the single greatest prospect in the entire 2026 class, not just defensive back, but overall athlete. His physical traits are terrifying. The guy possesses superhuman intuition. Plus, his tactical elasticity allows him to unleash hell from quite literally anywhere on the gridiron. Scouts call him a brilliant on-field general who reads the game like a seasoned coordinator, boasting elite communication skills and lethal processing speed. He screams future franchise captain, a true alpha dog between the hashes who will violently blow up running plays all day long. Here is a wild stat. Ohio State rarely sent him after the quarterback, but he was deadly when they did, logging a staggering 20% pressure rate. Sure, his 11% missed tackle margin raises a slight eyebrow, but his highlight reel of earth-shattering stops more than makes up for it. The kid literally possesses the sheer firepower to completely delete elite tight ends from existence. Let us not forget he started day one as a true freshman at Alabama. Add massive special teams value to his resume. 338 snaps there, actively returning punts with absolute fearlessness. 10 returns yielding 185 yards. Downs to the Big Easy is a match made in football heaven, violently plugging their most critical gap. He instantly elevates the entire unit. The sheer magnitude of his talent is mind-blowing. I am not calling him the greatest defensive back in history just yet, but holy smokes, the kid is an absolute monster. When pick 8 rolls around, betting against him being the top dog on the board is foolish. But hold on, do not sleep on LSU phenom Mansour Delane. Snagging him at number 8 would inject pure adrenaline straight into this depleted secondary. Need him banished to the perimeter to completely suffocate an entire half of the field, or prefer dragging him inside for trench warfare? He possesses the unique athletic freakishness to dominate both realms. The guy is just an incredibly rare, game-wrecking specimen. Without a single shadow of a doubt, Delane reigns supreme as the most lethal pure coverage corner in this entire draft cycle. I keep stressing this. His sheer tactical fluidity is unmatched. He will absolutely shred opposing offenses whether playing sticky man or suffocating zone. Throw in his brutal pressman capabilities, incredibly fluid hip movement, and a wealth of battlefield experience. I'm telling you, he is the premier corner of this entire class. Nobody beat him in 2025. Crazy stat, he surrendered over 2 receptions in a single matchup exactly 2 times. Bama caught him once, and I believe the Gators got him the second time. Besides those 2 blips, the guy was a complete brick wall. Getting past him in 2025 was basically impossible. Check these numbers. 358 plays in coverage, yielding a mere 13 grabs out of 35 throws his way. Rival signal callers absolutely hated looking in his direction. He surrendered a measly 7 chain movers all season. No single receiver grabbed multiple balls against him. 0 scores given up, 0 flags thrown. His game is completely ruthless yet perfectly disciplined, which fires me up. I hear my Louisiana State diehards screaming through the screen, begging me to look at Mansour Delane. Honestly, I cannot even fight you on that front. Taking him would be a massive win for the franchise. Ultimately, though, your strategy does not have to begin and end in the first round. The second round is packed with absolute studs, too. If drafting Mansour Delane or Caleb Downs is your master plan, I am completely on board. That route makes perfect sense for New Orleans. However, imagine pivoting toward a pass rusher or snagging an offensive weapon instead. Grabbing someone like Jeremiah Love means waiting until round 2 for secondary help, maybe targeting the previously mentioned Traden Stokes. That kid brings serious electricity to the gridiron. Keontae Scott offers massive veteran savvy, and his older age has never terrified the Kellen Moore administration. Alternatively, keep your eyes on Oregon standout Dylan Thiem and Indiana corner D'Angelo Pons, or even San Diego State product Chris Johnson. Any of those ball hawks could slide perfectly into that nickel spot and dominate the star position in New Orleans. With the 2026 draft arriving in exactly 21 days or flat 3 weeks, we are getting you fully prepped. Hit that totally free 100% subscribe button for everyday coverage, bringing you the hottest whispers and hardcore breakdowns from genuine diehards, plus wall-to-wall live streaming throughout the entire selection event. Do not miss out, smash that follow button, ring the bell, and join the squad at 0 cost. Filling that nickel spot is actually a total nightmare. Plenty of supporters are still furious about the Alontae Taylor situation, calling his performance total garbage. People question his hustle and whatever else. My focus is not on departed guys, but trust me, throwing a random coverage dude into that specific job is career suicide. You cannot just toss an average defensive back in there and expect miracles. That role demands way more than basic secondary skills. Only a unique beast survives there. It requires a vicious mindset, brutal aggression, and elite adaptability. Whoever takes it must be an absolute savage. They need to crush ball carriers and play extremely dirty when mirroring receivers. Thriving here means juggling a dozen complex assignments on every single snap, and Kellen Moore completely agrees. I am definitely not flying solo with my worries about patching this hole, which was previously occupied by Taylor. Finding a superior talent is possible, yet sliding someone into his old shoes will be incredibly tough. Head coach Kellen Moore admitted the uphill battle, but remains confident about the defensive talent already sitting inside their facility. Management genuinely believes they can convert existing safeties or outside coverage guys to handle the duties. They plan to navigate rookie selections first, see who falls into their lap, and adjust the defensive blueprint accordingly. Looking at the current roster, New Orleans boasts plenty of secondary talent, specifically focusing on 4 dudes: Quincy Riley and Kool-Aid McKinstry, their primary boundary defenders. Shifting McKinstry inside feels risky to me. His mechanics are incredibly polished, making him far more lethal defending the deep boundary. Despite his killer natural reflexes making him capable of running the slot, bumping Riley inside feels like the smarter chess move. Bumping a corner inward is my personal take, though shifting a deep field enforcer down into the box is likely their ultimate strategy. Julian Blackman and Jonas Sanker bring absolute fireworks to the conversation, especially since dropping Justin Reed closer to the line seems highly doubtful. Snagging Caleb Downs opens endless doors. Plug the rookie in directly, slide Blackmon forward, or unleash Sanker. They possess crazy flexibility to maximize their most lethal defensive studs. Honestly though, if week 1 kicked off today on April 3rd, Blackman is the obvious favorite to command that nickel spot. Surprisingly enough, he already crushed this exact assignment back in Indy under the defensive schemes of Gus Bradley. Bradley deployed him as an interior enforcer heavily. Stats show 295 slot reps during 2022, dropping slightly to 175 in 2023. The guy clearly possesses the necessary battle scars, making his potential transition back inside wildly intriguing. Look back at his arrival last season, stepping directly into a starting deep field job once Tyrann Mathieu officially hung up the cleats. Justin Reed openly praised their partnership, raving about how much he adored patrolling the secondary alongside him. Those two shared obvious on-field magic and a genuinely unbreakable bond as defensive partners. Pushing him closer to the linebackers while letting Reed and Sanker control the deep zones could create a terrifying defense. Then again, unleashing Sanker is a brutal alternative given his heavy background brawling near the line of scrimmage for New Orleans last season. While he mostly patrolled the deep thirds or played enforcer roles, they absolutely unleashed him as an interior weapon on multiple occasions. So where do they go from here? Honestly, their blueprint is totally fluid. Management refuses to blindly lock one specific guy into that critical job just yet. Everything hinges on rookie selections and how the talent pool shakes out. If the first round completely sidelines their secondary needs, maybe you hunt down a franchise signal caller during day 2 across rounds 2 or 3. Alternatively, just snatch the absolute best prospect on the board, whether that means grabbing an explosive wideout, locking in Caleb Downs, securing Jeremiah Love, or unleashing a terrifying edge rusher. That single monumental choice drastically alters the future of your star defensive position. Everything hinges entirely on how this massive draft night unfolds. Once the dust settles, we dive back into the war room, calculate our biggest vulnerabilities, and figure out exactly how to conquer that glaring roster hole. The ultimate masterstroke? Draft Caleb Downs and thrust him directly into that spotlight. You anchor your defense with a true generational superstar who will absolutely dominate the gridiron for the next 10 seasons. Pulling that trigger would be pure brilliance. Yet, I remain completely open to an arsenal of alternative strategies for constructing this juggernaut. The New Orleans Saints are holding a massive hand of explosive possibilities right now. That is exactly why their early draft positioning is absolutely thrilling. Sitting at 8th overall, 42nd overall, and holding that 73rd slot in the 3rd round brings insane potential. They possess a golden, undeniable opportunity to secure absolute game changers with every single one of those crucial selections. So, who is destined to claim that electrifying star position down in New Orleans? We just laid out an arsenal of elite candidates. Honestly, your most lethal weapon internally remains Julian Blackman, or perhaps the phenomenal Jonas Sanker. But if you dare to venture into the wild unknown for outside blood, prepare for heavy hitters like Mansour Delane, Caleb Downs, Keontae Scott, Traden Stokes, and D'Angelo Pons to completely hijack the conversation. Sound off right now. Who deserves to be the undisputed focal point of Brandon Staley's defensive masterpiece? Stay absolutely legendary, everyone, and get ready for our next explosive breakdown. Brandon Staley's defense is bleeding from a massive wound right at its core. The vacant star role is not just an empty jersey. It is a structural nightmare, threatening to collapse the entire unit. Forget your standard defensive backs. This absolute beast of a position requires a freakish blend of brute strength, elite football IQ, and total adaptability. We are talking about a warrior who can lock down shifty slot receivers, blow up run plays, hunt the quarterback, and brawl with monstrous tight ends, all without missing a beat. This guy's the ultimate linchpin, the vital glue binding the heavy hitters up front to the playmakers in the secondary. Losing a weapon of this caliber leaves a gaping crater in the lineup, one that no one-trick pony could ever hope to fill. That is exactly why New Orleans faces a do-or-die crisis right now. They do not just need another body out there. They are hunting for a unicorn to survive the most punishing job in football. Solving this puzzle means tearing through every single option on and off the roster, because one wrong move will put blood in the water for every ruthless offense in the league to attack. The raging debate over how to fix this mess just proves what an absolute nightmare this decision is for the Saints' brain trust. Bumping up a guy from within the locker room gives you an instant tactical edge, guaranteeing a frictionless leap right into the fire. Your homegrown talent already speaks the language, knows the coach's demands, and sits in prime position to seize this brutal challenge. But rolling those dice is incredibly dangerous, especially if nobody in the building has the sheer firepower needed to dominate this spot. Alternatively, swinging for the fences in the draft could land them a generational custom-built weapon ready to terrorize offenses. Absolute athletic freaks like Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane have the exact mutant skill sets required, but throwing rookies into the pro grinder takes a massive adjustment period. It becomes a nerve-wracking tightrope walk between desperate win-now urgency and building a terrifying legacy for the future. New Orleans must make a gut-wrenching choice. Slap a temporary fix on it now, or gamble on a young phenom who could anchor this defense for the next decade. Adding fuel to this raging fire is the sheer tactical chaos this star can unleash across the entire defensive playbook. When you have a maestro in that spot, coordinators can mask their coverages, unleash wild blitz barrages, and counter any offensive strike force without ever subbing a guy out. That kind of shape-shifting power is pure gold in today's league, where hostile offenses use hyperspeed, crazy motion, and deadly spacing to snap defenses in half. Without a lethal enforcer patrolling that space, the scheme becomes painfully obvious, sitting perfectly still as a target for modern play caller. That is exactly how the Saints attack this glaring hole will send absolute shockwaves through their entire operation. Nailing this pick will blow the roof off their playbook, arming them to the teeth against the most explosive attacks in the sport. Botch this move, however, and the defense suffocates in a rigid, deeply flawed shell just waiting to be picked apart. The stakes are astronomically high. This single call dictates both individual glory and the very DNA of their entire defensive identity. At the end of the day, New Orleans' survival hinges entirely on marrying their aggressive roster moves with their ultimate defensive vision. Whether they mold a veteran, burn a premium draft pick, or pull a wild card, the chosen gladiator must possess the absolute fire needed to conquer this brutal assignment. We are not just talking about raw speed and hitting power. This requires razor-sharp instincts to read the chaos and strike with lethal precision. Whoever steps into this spotlight has to process the game like a supercomputer, acting as the ultimate violent extension of the head coach on the turf. If the Saints laser focus on these elite traits, they just might unearth a foundational superstar who locks down this defense for years. With the draft looming like a thundercloud, how they navigate this minefield will reveal if this franchise has the guts to innovate and dominate a ruthless modern league. The hidden superpower everyone ignores when hyping up this role? The lightning-fast mental circuitry required to actually survive it. While ordinary cornerbacks get to specialize, this total war zone forces a player to make split-second, high-stakes choices while staring down absolute chaos. In the blink of an eye, this defender must crack the offensive code, predict the routes, and pull the trigger, whether dropping back, blowing up the trenches, or rushing the passer with bad intentions. That intense brain drain is cranked to 11 by today's hyperkinetic offenses, using blinding speed and pre-snap illusions to trigger catastrophic defensive breakdowns. Because of this, New Orleans would be committing coaching malpractice if they only draft based on 40-yard dash times and bench presses. They are on a desperate hunt for a tactical genius whose mind fires just as explosively as his cleats hit the grass. Finding a freak athlete who also owns a master-level football brain is like catching lightning in a bottle, which makes this vacancy incredibly terrifying. The legends who master this spot become absolute generals on the field, screaming out adjustments and holding the battle line when opposing schemes start spinning out of control. If New Orleans wants to stop massive passing game meltdowns, securing an alpha dog to shoulder this immense burden is non-negotiable. Beyond pure brain power, you need a player forged from iron. Extreme durability is the only way someone survives this meat grinder long term. Between smashing into linemen in the trenches and sprinting with wideouts in space, whoever takes this job needs a titanium body to endure a grueling 18-week bloodbath. One blown knee at this critical junction causes the entire defensive foundation to crack, forcing desperate patches that leave the whole squad vulnerable. That is an absolute nightmare scenario for the Saints, a squad already walking a tightrope with massive question marks scattered across their depth chart. Securing a bulletproof warrior who brings the heat every single Sunday has immediately become mission critical. This brutal reality might force the front office to draft an indestructible Ironman instead of taking a massive gamble on a fragile, high-ceiling superstar. Furthermore, the coaching staff will have to masterfully throttle this weapon's snap count, walking a razor's edge between unleashing absolute hell and keeping their star out of the medical tent. If New Orleans attacks this head-on, they completely neutralize the brutal risks of this grueling role and squeeze every ounce of greatness out of their weapon for years to come. Nailing this pivotal role sends absolute shockwaves through the entire squad, completely revolutionizing their tactical arsenal and transforming how they attack every single game. A rock-solid enforcer right here blows the playbook wide open, letting masterminds unleash chaotic, mind-bending traps that utterly paralyze rival quarterbacks. That instantly ignites a frenzy of explosive takeaways, lethal third down stops, and absolute domination over the entire tempo of the battle. But leave a glaring hole here, and the defense crumbles into predictable, terrifyingly cautious routines that bloodthirsty rivals will absolutely tear to pieces. If New Orleans conquers this glaring need, they unleash a terrifying new defensive gear, arming themselves to clash head-to-head with the league's most explosive scoring machines. It builds a ruthless, shape-shifting identity from the ground up, forging the exact kind of lethal, relentless agility required to survive the modern gridiron. Lock in the perfect weapon, and you forge an unshakable empire sparking instant, breathtaking dominance while bulletproofing the entire franchise against whatever brutal warfare the future brings. In the end, conquering this one agonizing defensive puzzle perfectly mirrors the brutal, high-stakes warfare of constructing a true championship powerhouse. It proves you can't just blindly hunt for raw power. You demand a unified vision where every single warrior bleeds the exact same culture and perfectly executes the master plan. The brass must ruthlessly dissect every prospect, hunting for freakish athleticism, razor-sharp instincts, ironclad toughness, and unstoppable flexibility. They must accurately predict how this new weapon impacts the locker room chemistry, guaranteeing the defensive brotherhood remains absolutely unbreakable and violently executes the commander's grand vision. This high-wire balancing act demands ruthless synergy across the board with scouts, field generals, and elite executives, all operating as a single unstoppable force. Every single cutthroat choice made right now broadcasts their true organizational DNA, revealing to the world just how fiercely dedicated they are to forging an unbreakable, lasting dynasty. Strike gold here, and New Orleans transforms into a defensive nightmare. Whiff, and they'll helplessly bleed out from exposed, fatal wounds that will sabotage their entire campaign. This is absolutely not about merely plugging a hole on a depth chart. It is a do-or-die crusade to completely forge the ultimate destiny of the franchise.